Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing an Exodia deck profile. So I'm really excited to do something for you guys because this deck just got some amazing support in the form of Heart of the Blue Eyes, which is such a powerful card that can actually search out Millennium Ankh. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name description every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Heart of the Blue Eyes. Heart of the Blue Eyes is definitely a 3-of in the deck. This card can actually search out Millennium Ankh, and just like Grandpa's Blue Eyes White Dragon that this card is based on, the control of this card cannot switch, which is so cool because Kaiba will not be using this card against us. This card is also always treated as a Millennium card, and you can discard this card from your hand to the graveyard to instantly add Millennium Ankh from your deck to your hand, which is such a powerful effect. Also, if this card's in the graveyard and you have successfully activated Millennium Ankh this duel, and your opponent normally special summons a monster that has a level 8 or higher, or has 3,000 or more attack, you can send that monster to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon this card, which is such a powerful effect to instantly get this card back on your side of the field. We then play 1 each of all of the Exodia pieces because you have to play them all in the deck to be able to reveal with your copy of Millennium Ankh, so you can summon out the unstoppable Exodia Incarnate. So you got to play all the Exodia pieces in this deck at 1, and definitely give me a like for this one, guys, because I have them all as original print Legend of the Blue Eyes White Dragon, which really goes with Heart of the Blue Eyes. We then play 3 copies of Sinjinjin Wakes from a Millennium. This card is definitely a 3-of in the build. It has a great effect that it cannot be destroyed by monster effects, and you can only use the effects of this card once per turn. You can place this card in your spell and trap card zone as a face-up continuous spell, and when this card is a continuous spell, you can either pay 2,000 life points or reveal a Millennium Ankh in your hand to special summon this card, then add a Millennium monster from your deck to your hand, which is a really cool effect to instantly grab the exact Millennium monster you want directly from your deck to your hand, also getting a 2750 boss monster on your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Shield of the Millennium Dynasty. This card is definitely a 3-of in the deck. This card has a really cool ability. It cannot be destroyed by spell or trap effects, and it also has the ability, if this card's in your hand, you can place it in your spell and trap card zone as a face-up continuous spell, and while this card is a continuous spell, you can either pay 2,000 life points or reveal Millennium Ankh in your hand to special summon this card, then you can add a Millennium Ankh from your deck to your hand, which is a great ability to instantly get to Millennium Ankh off this card's effect. We then play 2 copies of Golem that guards the Millennium Treasures. This card is great as a 2-of in the deck. This card actually searches out your copy of your Temple, which is a really cool ability because you can actually place this card in your spell and trap card zone as a continuous spell. And also, while this card is a continuous spell, you can either pay 2,000 life points or reveal Millennium Ankh in your hand to special summon this card, then add a copy of Yugioh Temple directly from your deck to your hand. And also, the activation of your Millennium Ankh cannot be negated when this card's a monster on your side of the field, which is awesome. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is definitely a 3-of in the deck, just to basically stop your opponent from touching the deck. We then play 3 copies of Shifter. Shifter is really good in this deck, so we really don't care about the graveyard that much outside of our copies of Heart of the Blue Eyes. So this card is really good in the deck overall to basically just shut down your opponent's graveyard, and by activating this card sometimes, you can instantly win a duel. We then play 3 copies of Lava Golem. Lava Golem is definitely a 3-of in the build because we really don't have a normal summon in the deck, as all of our Millennium monsters can special summon themselves from the back row. So this card is our one normal summon in the deck. It's basically just tribute 2 of our opponent's monsters and summon this card out to our side of the field, which we can easily go over with the unstoppable Exodia Incarnate, plus it outs your opponent's cards. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. For the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Terraforming. Terraforming is definitely a 1-of in the deck to help us get to one of our 2 field spells, which is just going to help us out a lot in this deck. We then play a single copy of Set Rotation, because we do play 2 different field spells in this deck. This card is extremely powerful to basically give our opponent a field spell, and we get a field spell. And since our opponent will control a card, they can't activate cards like Evenly Match or Imperm, which is really cool. We then play a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is definitely a one in the build to just stop your opponent's hand traps while you're going in for all of your plays. We then play a single copy of Instant Fusion. Instant Fusion is amazing, so we can summon out our copy of Millenniumizer Strict, which actually counts as a Millennium monster, which is so cool to basically be an additional copy of Called by the Grave to protect us from hand traps. We then play a single copy of Pot of Prosperity. Pot of Prosperity is great to help us dig into the deck for the exact cards that we need. We then play a single copy of Obliterate Blaze. Obliterate Blaze helps us OTK our opponent with its awesome effects, that you can actually use the effect that one level 10 or higher monster on the field with Exodia in its original name gains these effects, that you can pay half your life points to destroy as many cards in your spell and trap card zone as possible, and equip 5 Forbidden 1 monsters from your hand or deck to that card as equip spells that give it a 2,000 attack points apiece, basically boosting your copy of your Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate to 10,000 attack points. It also has the ability, if this card attacks a defensive monster, and inflicts piercing battle damage to your opponent, which is such a powerful effect to be able to use just to make your copy of the Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate go up to 10k and do piercing damage so you can OTK your opponent. We then play a single copy of Secret Village of the Spellcasters. Secret Village of the Spellcasters is definitely a one of the decks to be able to use with our copy of Set Rotation to basically set our copy of Yugioh Temple to our opponent's side of the field, and we get Secret Village since our main boss monster, the Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate, is actually a spellcaster. We can lock our opponent down from using spell cards. We then play 2 copies of Yugioh Temple. Yugioh Temple is really cool as a 2-of in the deck, as this card has the ability that during your main phase, you can place 1 monster from your hand in your spell and trap card zone as a face-up continuous spell. Then you can place a Millennium monster from your deck in your spell and trap card zone as a face-up continuous spell, which is a great effect, so you can bump them forward with their own effects. It's a really powerful card in the build, and just overall fantastic to help you get the exact Millennium monster that you need. And also it has the ability of a face-up Millennium monster you control is destroy battle by card effect. You can actually place it in your spell and trap card zone as a face-up continuous spell instead of just getting rid of it off the field and sending it to the graveyard. It just goes back to the back row, back in its stone tablet form. We then also play 3 copies of Millennium Ankh. Millennium Ankh is so important for this deck, and the key combo piece of the build to be able to summon out your copy of the Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate. This card lets you show all 5 Forbidden 1 monster cards from your hand, deck, and or face up on the field. Then you get to special summon 1 the Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate from your extract. Then shuffle all face up monster cards you control into the deck except Exodia monster cards whose original level is 10 or higher, and Millennium monster cards. Also, you cannot summon for the rest of the turn after activation. Also, shuffle this card back in the deck instead of sending it to the graveyard, which is a really cool effect that it just basically recycles itself and puts itself back into your deck. And this card is so cool in the deck because Grandpa's deck contains no pathetic cards, but it does contain the Unstoppable Exodia, and we can summon it with Millennium Ankh. So, that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start with a single copy of Angel Statue. Angel Statue is really good in the deck as a 1-of to basically just use this card with Silo Hat Rabbit to establish a negate for special summons. We then play a single copy of There Can Be Only One. There Can Be Only One is really cool in this deck because we play so many different types of monsters that we really only have 1 of each type on the field at any given time. So this card is really powerful in this build. We then play 2 copies of Exode Fires of Rage. Exode Fires of Rage is such a powerful board wipe that we can set to our side of the field with the Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate, as this card is always treated as an Exod card and Obliterate card, and has the ability, if you control a level 10 or or higher Exodia monster, destroy all cards your opponent controls, which is the main effect we're going to be able to use this card, because during our end phase, your copy of the Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate will set this card to your side of the field, so you can flip it during your opponent's turn and just board wipe them, which is so cool. Also, if this card's in the graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, you can banish this card to activate one of these effects to add a Forbidden 1 monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand, or shuffle up to 5 Forbidden 1 monsters from your graveyard or banishment back in the deck, which is a really cool effect to help you recover your Exodia pieces. We then play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence is definitely a 3 of them build just to stop your opponent's monster effects and also lock down entire columns of spells and traps. So, that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with the Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate, which is actually one of the few monsters we summon in this deck. This card is absolutely crazy and takes 5 Forbidden 1 monsters to make this card, or you can just activate Millennium Ankh to be able to instantly bring this card out. This card has 5 insane abilities, 1 for each piece of Exodia, and it has the following effects. It cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects once per turn. If this card battles during damage calculation, you can make this card gain attack equal to your life points once per turn. When a spell or trap card or effect is activated, quick effect, negate the activation. Once per turn during the end phase, you can set an Exode or an Obliterate spell or trap from your deck, and once per turn during your standby phase, lose 1,000 life points. That is insane. This card has all those different effects, and it's so easy to OTK your opponent with this card. We then play a single copy of Millennium Eyes Restrict. This card is our 1 instant fusion target that we summon, and it actually counts as a Millennium monster because it's a Millennium monster by name, which is so cool. But this card is definitely a 1 in the deck and just such an awesome card to be able to make in this build. And then like a single copy of Psychic and Punisher. Psychic and Punisher is really cool in this build to be able to summon, as we can easily summon this card out to our side of the field by having a level 8 monster on the field and summoning out our copy of Ash Blossom. It can come out absolutely massive, which is why we play this card in the build. You could change it out for another Link monster, but the extra deck is so loose to be able to play anything that you want, because you basically just summon out your copy of your Exodia fusion monster, that you can play anything you want in the extra deck. So I did tech this card in, as I just think it's a really cool card overall to be able to make in this build, because it gets absolutely massive. Then play a single copy of Typhon. Typhon is just really good in this deck overall, especially if you're going second, to basically just summon this card out to your side of the field and bounce cards off the field. Plus, it's very easy to make going second, and it's a skill drain for 3,000 or higher attack point monsters. We'll play a single copy of Underworld Goddess, because it helps us out towers like boss monsters on our opponent's side of the field. 1 copy of Access Code, because it comes out absolutely massive and pops multiple cards on the field, which is really cool. 1 copy of Selene. Selene is really good in this deck overall, because it helps you bring back your spellcasters to your side of the field and then climb into Access Code Talker. 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix to pop spells and traps. 1 copy of Asa, because we play so many different Earth monsters in this build. 1 copy of SP Little Knight, because this card is a double interruption against your opponent. If you don't have this card, you can change it out for Nightmare Cerberus as another budget option. We then play a single copy of Scylla Hat Rabbit. Scylla Hat Rabbit is great in this deck to be able to set your copy of Angel Statue to your side of the field. This card and the Exodia is usually what I summon in this deck, and this card is really good because it does set that copy of Angel Statue on your side of the field. We play a single copy of Moon of the Closed Heaven. Moon of the Closed Heaven is great in the deck to be able to basically use this card to out towers like boss monsters with your copy of your Underworld Goddess, which is so cool. We finally play a single copy of Relinquished Anima, so we can basically gobble up our opponent's monsters. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy. This deck is so fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played an Exodia deck before, you should definitely give this deck a try, especially now that we have Heart of the Blue Eyes, which is such a powerful card in this deck that instantly gets us to our copy of Millennium Ankh. Plus, it's so nostalgic to actually have Grandpa's Blue Eyes White Dragon in this deck. So that's going to do this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.